you introduce yourself? I'm sure everybody knows who you are, but for those that don't, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about you?
I'm Nate Campbell, unified champion in lightweight division. I am WBA, WBO, and IBF champion.
Very good. Nate, a lot has changed for you since your fight that night with Juan Diaz. At this point in your career as a veteran, how do you see the rest of your career panning out, and how do you look back and at this point, winning at this stage of your career, that's a lot of people would say that's such an accomplishment in and of itself. How do you explain the success towards I guess, not saying it's towards the end of your career, but you have a couple more years left in the sport, and now I'm thinking as a veteran, and with these young guys.
Well, here's the thing. You all and people in general don't know how long I have left. I mean, I started at 28, 29 years old when I turned pro. So my future's yet untold. But for most of these guys are 23, 24, 25. They've been getting beat up for a long time.
Right.
And their careers are starting to slide now.
Absolutely.
So for me, I mean, I can be around as long as my body tells me I can.
Right. Well, in boxing and just like in life and anything else, when a couple of losses on your record, a lot of people, and I think I read an interview where you said being undefeated just meant that you haven't had to face any adversity. And I thought that was such a true statement. And I think a lot of people are now coming around to the fact, I mean, that night you won over a lot of people. I mean, you showed not only your boxing skills, but, you've always had heart, but what you showed that night, I think, won a lot of the casual fans over. Boxing fans always knew what you were about, but as far as creating a buzz and gathering more of the casual fans and getting them together, how do you see that?
Well, at the end of the day, I just did what I do. Come the 13th, I'm going to do what I do then. They're more facets to me than most of these guys because they've been able to win one way. Cotto was able to break guys up and beat them down, outpower them, and then he had to come up against Margarito, a fighter who's been through adversity. So in my opinion, I feel like all I did was what I always have done. But I mean, on that night, even during the fight, HBO commentators, Max Kellerman and Jim Lampley, were still giving this guy all these kudos. Right. So it's not about what I was doing; it's about what the powers around the ring are doing. Because I should be fighting, more marquee fights, but that has nothing to do with the fact that that I'm not. Because they don't want to deal with me, they won't.
Right. And
so for me, I'm just doing my job.
So, and that brings us to your upcoming fight with Joan Guzman. Talk a little bit about that, and how's training camp been going for that fight?
Training camp is great. I'm on track. I'm starting to fight, to work harder and be less tired, and be not tired at all. So for me, we're on track. The guys were telling me on the day that now the running joke is, you're on steroids. That's the running joke in the gym now because I train so hard and I don't seem to show any signs of wear.
Right.
So one of my sparring partners came in to me today and whispered, "Give me some of the steroid that you're on." And I'm like, yeah. It's a running joke now because hard work and dedication is not rewarded anymore if you're not the guy they want to win. What hard work and dedication gets you now, it gets your name slandered. Like with Willie Savannah saying that I was on performance enhancement drugs.
And talk a little bit about that. How did that turn out? And is there still fallout from that?
Now also, Nunez is also doing the same thing. The fallout is this. It makes them look like asses. Because anybody who's ever known me knows that I'm as non-alcoholic and I'm drug-free. I don't drink. I think I was that guy that tried alcohol and just didn't like it. My mother was an alcoholic and a drug addict. My father was an alcoholic. He wasn't a drug addict. And so after having the first taste of alcohol, I thought in my life, I don't see how you can love something like this. And drugs are just something I can never do. Growing up like I grew up, I saw my mother break a needle in her arm. And rather than just pull the needle head out, she pulled the needle head out and got another needle. So for me, that was strange to me. Someone would be so dependent upon something that they would, risk killing themselves with the needlehead and get another one.
So was boxing an escape for you?
It is. It's always been my refuge.
Really?
Boxing has been my refuge for many years. So I don't allow guys to say things about me like that I'm on drugs or something like that to bother me, because they're not gonna make what I love vilify me for doing something I love the very best I can.
Right, and that's understandable. I know that you and John Guzman have been trading barbs in the press, and I read a couple of the interviews. Each fighter poses a different set of problems when you're in the ring with them. Juan Diaz, you were able to adapt and beat him at his own game in some of the infighting there. Where do you see your fight with John Guzman that night? How do you see it panning out?
Any way he wants it. Any way he wants it. I can do it either way. I can do it outside, inside, around the corner, in the alleyway, front seat of the car, back seat of the car, on top of the car, on top of the roof, underground, in the grave. Any way he want to do it, I can do it.
Right.
He can only do it one or two ways.
Well, I've read some statements that he said wherever you try and find him in the ring, he's going to be a blur. How do you respond to something like that?
Everybody has a plan so they get hit in the mouth. And everybody can talk a good game, but to bring that plan to fruition, it's a whole nother story.
Okay, so and after this fight, and when you are victorious,
there is no after this fight. For me, my only purpose in life right now is beating Joan Guzman. Period. I don't think about tomorrow's next fight. I don't think about next year. Right now, the only fight that I can ever think of is Joan Guzman.
Right.
And I don't think that Joan said most of the stuff that's being written in the press. It's Nunez saying those things. But for me, it doesn't do anything but spur me on to do a better job. Because over the last few weeks, the guys in the gym have seen me change from a very, very affable, nice guy to having that cold demeanor about me. I don't care about what they talk, they do. At the end of the day, when the bell rings, you gotta give your soul to God and your ass to me.
So, apart from boxing, and I've seen you sort of branch out. I was actually there in the Wednesday night fights, ESPN at the Hollywood Hard Rock. What do you do outside of boxing? What are you trying to branch out outside of boxing? And you did a good job.
Thank you. I'm a boxing fan. So just to be around boxing, when I do say I don't want to do it, I don't want to box anymore. To be around boxing is something I want to do. I'm already trying to make plans to somehow finagle John David and I to get together some kind of way to train fighters. Probably get into managing fighters on the backside. And eventually promote fighters. But I want fighters that are willing to fight. I don't want guys that want to be brought up the way they've been brought up in today's boxing world. I don't mind taking the guy to a world title with 3 losses. I don't mind that. I don't mind a guy having a few marks on his record. I don't mind that. Because if he's still willing to fight at the top level, still good enough to fight at the top level, that means he's learned something all the other undefeated guys haven't. He's learned the bitter truth about himself. That there are nights that if he doesn't put his best work in, he won't win. See, all a loss does for you when you really want to be great is push you harder towards that mark. Anybody can have an undefeated record in this day and age. Anybody could have been, any guy can go out and be undefeated.